Okay, when you start to get into religion, people turn crazy. All right, because their emotion is tied to. Okay, it's not to say it's bad, because in the emotion, a devotion is a way to attain that realization too. Realization of the truth, or self-realization, so-called. Okay, so it's a, you know, it should be called devotional path, not emotion. Emotion suffer. Okay, but you know, you have to put your heart into it. So that devotional path is what religion is about. The modern day idea of the religion. Okay, but in the ancient times, they don't have such, you know, bias about this and that. It's beyond besides religion. It's beyond besides particular culture. It's about natural law, universal truth. Okay, so when we do I Ching study, if you really want to be a good diviner, as I say, a true diviner is not a tarot card reader. A true diviner is an awakened being. The same. You come to that, you know, realization of the universal truth. Right? By this particular approach, you know, we just kind of modern day we generally call the I Ching approach, study the changes. Okay. And so through the changes, you know, he come to a realization. So the path is more towards, you know, knowledge path, jnana yoga, rather than bhakti yoga, you know, rather than devotional path. So modern day religions, right, is very devotional. Yeah, that will get you there too if you truly 100% surrender and devoted to a love, etc. Right? But most people do a half-hearted. They don't put their heart into it, so it doesn't really work very well for majority of the folks. You know, so they do not accomplish in one lifetime. They accomplish in maybe, you know, multiple lifetimes of transmigration later. That's just my view. Right? I Ching study is same. You have to do meditation. Okay, so you know, how do the, you know, diviners in the old days in China do meditation? You know, they still exist in the Tao tradition, the Tao lineage. I don't say Taoism. I don't mean the organized religion. I mean the, you know, the body of genuine knowledges, you know, about universal spiritual truth. Right? That tradition is still quite alive in China. There's still, you know, tons of people. Even as of today, Taoism, you know, there's certain, you know, as in every religion, there's, you know, they're always genuine practitioners, truly accomplished, but they're always in the minority. Majority are just kind of, you know, doing their own fantasy, whatever. Okay, same thing will happen in our school. Let me put it this way. Okay, you know, it doesn't make us very special. You know, it's the same because it's called universal truth. Right. Anyway, so very good. You got to figure it out and realize it's really just a common sense logic. All right. Let me check out your email, all right, and see what you have, okay? I wonder the email before the last one you sent, all right, about last week. You say that you found the information as the white circle 360 degree, very interesting. Well, you know, ponder over more. That kind of pondering is, you know, is a way of contemplation. It's a contemporary, you know, contemplation, can you say, you know, sort of meditation, absorb into that state of contemplating, and eventually you'll gain insight and start to realize, you know, through your own insight, not me having to tell you. Okay, so there's a lot more to it than just this. Yeah. Oh, you got an insight, Paul, already? Okay, unmute yourself. Go ahead.
No, the bit that I wanted to for you to come back with was when you connected it to the 10 heavenly stems, was why I got the 6 plus 3 plus 1 equals 10. So I was saying, okay, you go to the 10 heavenly stems, but is that right, or is there a little bit more? And that was the bit that.
Oh, you know, you know, you have a little sensor is turning on, so you're searching in the general direction. Yes, okay, but then, of course, there's a lot more to it.
Could you give just
this is all
hint?
about I Ching divination. This is only the foundation right now. This
sure. Could you just give like a little bit of background initial to start me off on that, rather than me having to trawl through all the stuff on
we'll
there.
be jumping too fast because I want to cover your email first. Anyway,
Okay.
Mark has
Funny, I was contemplating that yesterday, and it's the amount of days that we take to have the amount of lunar cycles in 1 year when the sun reaches the same point after a year, 360 days.
yeah, roughly 360 plus some days, right? So, but if you were to hook up the lunar cycle and the solar cycle together, you realize there's two things going on, because the sun and the moon has the greatest effect on the Earth, right?
The reason that it really picked me was I went after on the internet to find out what the Western viewpoint is, and it's not clear, and that's why it got really interesting, because
What was not clear? I didn't quite hear what you mean.
if you type on the internet, why does a circle have 360 degrees, they'll come up with they think it's because it's 365 days, or like Mark said, the 300.
It's not 365 days,
I know what I'm saying is, but they're not clear how it come from. And this is the bit, the Western, we're very arrogant in our understanding that we understand everything, but we don't actually understand why a circle has three.
Oh, you have finally come to that realization.
Yeah. So the point
Western is actually stuck in the backwater culturally.
Yeah. So the reason why this 360 was good was because when you're standing in front of people who think they know everything, if you just say to them, well, why has a circle got 360 degrees? And they can't give you the answer, and you say, go and find it on the internet, and they can't find it on the internet, and then you say, oh yeah,
that's why I'll be honest. I tell you guys, I teach stuff you won't Google and find out on the internet.
Sure. So the point I was getting at is what brought the 10 heavenly stems. What's the connection? That first little connection.
May I interrupt you? Can you just adjust your camera so we can see your mouse? Because the recording, when people listen, they can see the mouse. It's easier for them to understand you.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, it's just that the why the 10 heavenly stems. So we probably did it many years back in our class, but rather than falling. Sorry?
Gave you the vocabulary. We haven't started yet.
Okay, so you haven't covered it. That's what I was wanting to find out, because
those are just basic vocabulary. As I get to know your friends first. You don't know your friends. It's hard to converse. If I have to put in English vocabulary limited in this field, right? It's a meditation or yoga practice, for example, tantra. Okay, many also from India, these kind of things. And there's a lot of vocabulary in Sanskrit that it's not possible to put in the English, so you end up having to interpret the translation. There's no exact matching word, so you use different. You start to stipulate. Coin the terminology in English, or when some of this first translated, I think it was in Germany or something. The bulk of it, Sanskrit text, and English also later on. So it take a couple centuries, I guess, for the scholar to sort out. Okay, match. Even when I did translation work, right, for our master decades ago, some of the stuff is like which one is the better term in English? I don't know, but I have to give you guys the test. I just put something on the first, right, and then I gradually improve over times. Ponder over. Oh, okay, this is probably a better way to put it. That's called interpreter translation, right? Most of the stuff is quite straightforward, but some of the stuff is conceptual. So it's not exactly like if you know both language, you can be interpreter translator. No, you have to know the subject enough to begin to interpret and translate accurately. If you just merely know the language, you don't understand the subject well enough, you make a total fool and errors in your translations. So, but anyway, let me continue on your email. So I just want to cover the question and answer mainly today. For if you guys have any questions, send me an email. Okay, but do explain your thinking so I understand what your question exactly is about, right? And give as much as you can. How do you come to that sense? How do you see it? Okay, anyway, let me read on. You find the information why the circle 360 degree very interesting, of course. Yeah, but it's quite straightforward. It's not that difficult either. I could follow how you got 1 stick, 3 stick, and 6 stick. Okay, so you mean yin yang yao. Yang yao is the 1 stick. Yin yao has the 2 short stick. 1 long stick, 2 short stick, a 3 stick, 6 stick, right? You mentioned that, from them comes the heavenly branch. I'm right in thinking that is because 1 plus 3 plus 6 equal 10. Yes, in the general ways. Okay, because 1, remember 1, 3, 5 in the Hetu and Ruoshu do not move, right? Remain the same positioning. Reality speaking, these trios or trinities. Okay, but here's 1, 1, 3, 6. But remember the magic of 11, you put 6 in the middle and 6 and 5 becomes 11. And you shuffle the number around everybody, in the 5 position. The 4 cross point and the middle point, 5 position all turn into 11, right? The magic of 11, there's the magic of 7, the magic of 11, there's all that stuff, right? So we're talking about, but when we study I Ching, this is the things about, for beginners, they're the lost. Reading the book of changes, the I Ching book, so translated into English, you can Google all online, right? Go to the I Ching page on Wikipedia, you can see all those are Wen sequence. That's somebody else's interpretation. Do you understand that? But through that studying, that book, through that interpretation, what you try to understand is the logic, the reasoning. That's where it lacks in the English translation in the West. There's no real understanding of the logic reasoning of their interpretation. There's a very shallow, I say very shallow, basically scratch the skin understanding of how they come to that, oracle revelations. Right? So most of Western, they're the lost. Yeah, so a lot of them use it as a, the book of change as a guidance. For the simple reason, it's more of a philosophical approach because it becomes a dominantly, even for the I Ching schools in China for the last few centuries, the dominant school is not the image and number school. It's the other one, the principle and logic school dominates. Okay, but as I mentioned earlier, right, today's lesson, I said, in the ancient time, what do you think it started first? For practical usage, for functional purpose, it's all about image and numbers first. But those image and number is not chaotically, saying that it's, toss a coin, take your chance. No, there's a real understanding behind this image and number. The understanding is called principle and logics, reasonings. Okay, but how do people come to the understanding? The ancients, over 5,000 years ago in China, or perhaps even longer than that. We don't know how long it's been. It's ancient way. The path of the ancients. You do meditation, you end the state, you come to that insight realization yourself. So what I'm trying to draw you guys, to study the I Ching, as I put on my website, right? You go to the 10 Wins to Fly I Ching page, right? I make that point there. It's not merely technical. If you want to learn I Ching, you gotta do meditation practice too. Okay, so ancient I Ching meditation, how they do it, I don't know. It's lost, but it remains in the Tao tradition. Okay, so if you in the West, you go to Wikipedia, you read it. Oh, they say I Ching is the it's a Bagua I Ching is a part of the Taoism. Well, you cannot really say that. You generally accepted. Okay, fine. If you say Islam is a religion, okay, but predates the religion, so-called religion. Okay, the formation of such a religion, Taoism. Lao Tzu did not start a ism. Buddha did not start a ism. Christ did not start a ism. It's all the priest heads who started nonsense, fantasize, start a ism, and use them as the image, the idol. Okay, now here comes the image. How to interpret the image properly. If you turn idolater, you don't understand the principle and reasoning behind the image. If you search realization, direct knowledge, you begin to understand what the image really what the words of the masters, the enlightened one, really meant, what the image is all about. You want to be the ideal yourself. You don't want to be an idolater, right? So, as I have said this, my course is not a popular course, right? Most people don't want, it's too hard for them, don't want to make the effort. They prefer to be emotionally dependent on somebody else, so they turn what? Fanatical. They emotionally attached, so they don't want to search knowledge. For people who want to search knowledge, I tell you this, they will not restrict themselves, nor they restrict others. So in other words, as a student, you search the best teacher you can find. Even our master did not restrict his disciples. Okay, that's what most of them, don't understand. Right? Then as a teacher, you never restrict your students. How stupid are you? You're not enlightening yourself. I'm not enlightened myself. I try to be enlightening the best I can. You try to learn and become more enlightening, right? That's good. We're friends on the path. So we take on students or disciples, what we're going to do for them. That's why I have said this in the past also, right? I think just in the last few weeks. If I'm not, helping you guys out as much as I can, you feel like you're not getting, anywhere with us. Go find a better teacher. I don't want to waste your time. Okay, I do sincerely mean that, because I want you to get it, to accomplish it, and then maybe you still remember this friend. You'll come by and enlighten me. Let's put it this way. Of course, the search of knowledge is never outward. Ultimately, it comes to become inward. But we follow whether Buddha's traditions, the historical Buddha, or the I Ching traditions. This is more of a jnana yoga, or knowledge path approach. Okay. Most of the so-called religions, organized religion of modern days, whether Buddhism or Christianity or the major religions across the board, again, modern times, the masses of people follow what? Devotional path. Do prayers. That's all they know, because they don't have the knowledge. Very few people do have the knowledge and understanding. The more you know, you're going to realize you're not as wise as you seem to be. That's where you begin to gain wisdom. Right? So you don't want to lead anybody. You just want to help out as many people as possible. You want to master yourself. You don't want to master over other people. So I have said this also in the last few. I don't want followers. I want doers, students who are doers. Right? So they practice for real, become independent. So I teach you guys I Ching. Right? It's another way to understand nature. When we say nature, it's not the soul we're talking about. That's according to Sankhya. Sankhya said Purusha is the soul, right? Prakriti is the matter, the nature. So when we study I Ching, we study elements. Okay, so somebody asked me this question. It's actually Ruben. Hi, Ruben. I have studied the elements: earth, water, fire, ether, and air and space, ether, etc. I got a pretty good handle on understanding the principle. I don't know how well he understands it, Okay, but I'm assuming he done his homework. Okay. Do I also need to learn the Chinese fire elements with metal and wood? I don't want to have to tackle two concepts at a time and get confused. But so I replied to him, in the future, Ruben, when you watch this rerun lessons, you'll see I'm talking about you. If you really want to learn I Ching, you gotta learn a lot. You gotta be willing to open and receive everything to be a true diviner. So I reply, say, every student in my courses, I will teach them all 10 elements and more. If you just want to stay with one, that's, you gotta be ready, waiting to take this on. You think it's a whole lot, it's not. If you can sit down and do meditation, when I say do meditation, that if you can hold still your body, hold still your mind, then your breathing will slow down and you will naturally hold still. Appear to be hold still, you're still breathing. Okay, don't forcefully doing it. It's not the same. You naturally can hold still. Body, mind, breath. So in other words, body, mind, speech, you hold still. Enough times, suddenly time becomes irrelevant. In your perception, time suddenly disappears. So you could be sitting there for hours, even days, until you feel like 5 minutes and half an hour. Then you gain insight, you gain direct knowledge, right? Once you have that kind of experiences, deep enough, very shallow, just for half an hour, and you saw some visions and you think you're cool, you gotta be enlightened or you're in Zen. No, that's only a reflection of the mind. Okay, attached to nothing and aversion to nothing, right? Each in tradition the same. You study all this bagua, trigram, hexagram. Ultimately, come to a point. Now you contemplate your whole still, your intellect. Don't use your intellect anymore. Once you study enough of it, you come to a point that you gotta apply this. You ponder over, right? A three way, yeah, to wisdom, as in the Buddha's teaching or Buddhist approach. One, listening, which means be receptive, learn as much as you can. You cannot be picky over other things. As Bodhidharma, not Bodhidharma, Bodhidharma's disciple, the second patriarch, Buddha. You know what most people don't accomplish because they are picky over the subjects, picky over the school, picky over the teachers, picky over everything else. They don't pick themselves. It's quite simple on the path to the ultimate truth. Pick yourself first. You really want to do it. Don't be picky over, other things. If you want to do teaching study, you got to have patience and you got to be willing to learn a lot of things. Be ready, begin to understand things. And then when you divine using, hexagram, trigram, divination, sometimes you don't need to do anything. Just by mere simple logic principle, reasoning, understanding. You just know it. You have a sense, intuition. People say, how do you do that? What did you do? How do you know? All right. For example, I tell you guys a story, my story. Just, you can just think it's a fanciful things, How long ago was that? I can't remember. That's a long time ago. More than 25 years ago, I say. Before I met our master, I was still working, right? So I was downstairs. I just got in the morning, did a little break, and kind of nap for 5 minutes. Yeah, it's a little break. And then somebody came down the stairs and say, the boss just said to me. I say, let me take a guess. Right, I was downstairs, there upstairs, right? Go buy a paper shader. And the person said, wow, how did you know that? He just told me just now. You couldn't have known this. Right? That's called divination. I wasn't trying to toss a coin and figure out. I just kind of a half days, right? Paper shader, that's it. Called direct knowledge. Because the sign is there. Hey, what do you, the sign is, he came downstairs and say, hey, guess what the boss told me to go buy? Go buy this item. I said, let me take a wild guess. 1 second. Paper shader. Right? And he's like, wow, how did you know this? Right? This is what a diviner can do. I am not a master. Okay? You can say that's a pure luck things I got right. Of all the items, why is paper shader suddenly down on me? Okay, based on that time, based on that day, based on the person coming downstairs and asked me the questions, instantly I knew. But based on that, I don't have the computer. Did you understand that? It's not like I have to take out coins and start to draw a trigram or hexagram, or look at it in the smartphone, the I Ching app, and read the interpretation, try to, you go look in the I Ching app. There's not a thing listed in any of the hexagrams or yao, that's going to tell you paper shredder. Do you understand that point? So do you want to study just, informations, or do you actually want to understand, comprehend what the information is telling you about the logic, the principle of natural law? And that's the whole point here. That's what separates from, people dabble here and there versus those who really want to learn something, really sincere and serious about want to get somewhere with their understanding. Okay, so this is the point I want to cover. I think it's quite important. You might not think so, but this is a key point. Anyway, all right. So